Hi everybody, I'm Ron Burgundy with HBHS's Nightly News. We have a high of 58 tonight and, one second. This just in, I'm getting news of a new outbreak of a deadly virus, oh no, in Canada, Mexico, and in the United States of America? Oh no, okay. Now we're going to take you out to Mason Lucero in the feud, who is making headways with the newest intel on this deadly virus. Mason? Thank you, Ron. I'm here in front of the White House, and first and foremost, what I would like to let you all know is that time is of the essence, and dates are crucial. By May 1st, we can expect within the United States alone that 330,896.1048 people will be infected by May 1st alone. By April 24th, 10,000 people will be infected. By April 29th, 100,000 people will be infected. And by May 3rd, 1 million people will be infected. The rate at which this is increasing can be seen here. By May 14th, the entire population of the United States of America can presume to be infected. I recommend that at 50% of the entire population being overcome with the virus, the key leaders be evacuated. I believe that the leaders should be present during the early stages of the virus to provide assistance to their citizens. However, once over half of the population becomes infected, I also believe that it is crucial to get those key and necessary leaders out of the region. The date of the evacuation of these key leaders will be May 12th. For example, for half of the population to be infected, the entire states of California, Texas, Florida, New York, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Ohio, Michigan, and Washington will have to be infected in order to reach the evacuation limit. Thank you, Dr. Lucero. Now, off to Dr. Clay, a leading scientist from the University of Mexico's Institute of Technology. Sophia?
Thanks, Ron. By May 1st, there will be 21,864.3526 people infected. 10,000 people will be infected on April 29th, 100,000 people will be infected on May 6th, and 1 million people will be infected on May 13th. As the graph shows, as the number of days increases, the number of people that are infected increases. The entire population of Mexico will be infected by May 27th. We believe that key government leaders should be evacuated after 50% of the population has been infected by the virus. Like Dr. Lucero, we have the same belief as America, that the leaders should be evacuated after 50% of the population has been infected. 50% of the population will be infected by May 25th. The states including are
State of Mexico, Jalisco, Veracruz, Puebla, Guanajuato, Chiapas, Nuevo León, Michoacán, y Oaxaca. Wow, truly astonishing. I love Mexico. Now, off to Dr. Warner in Canada, making leading headways on the true impacts of this deadly virus. Dr. Warner?
Thank you, America. I'm Dr. Chloe Warner from Canada, now presenting Canada's results. On May 1st, you can expect 3,729,540.791 infections. On April 21st, you can expect 10,000 citizens to be infected. On April 24th, you can expect 100,000 citizens to be infected. And on April 29th, you can expect 1 million citizens to be infected. You can expect the entire population of Canada to be infected on May 5th. Once 50% of the population of Canada is infected, we can expect the key leaders of the country to be evacuated. At 50%, 18.53 million citizens will be infected. We believe that once 50% of the population is infected, we should evacuate because that will be the dominating amount of citizens in Canada, and therefore there should be no hope in sight. Half of the population will be expected to be infected on May 4th. The provinces of British Columbia and Ontario will represent half of the population of Canada that will be infected. The projections that were found through our equation can be seen on this graph.
Thank you, scientists. We are now receiving a report that rebellion is spreading over each of the nation's decisions to evacuate the key leaders at 50%. However, We do stand by these nations' decision to evacuate at 50%. It is the duty of the leaders to stand by their citizens through this hard time and ensure their safety. However, many of these countries simply will not have leaders if the infections take them over as well. Thus, 50% is a safe and adequate number that also ensures that the safety of citizens can be provided for outside of the country when these leaders are evacuated. Now, we would like to take you firsthand to a United Nations meeting where key leaders are discussing this very issue right now.
The equation we used to calculate how many people were infected in each country derived from the equation y equals a times b to the power of x. Y represents the people infected in each country. A represents the number of people infected on the original day that was reported. B represents the average rate at which the infection spreads. And X represents the amount of days. The original equation of y equals a times b to the power of x. America's equation is y equals 40 times 1.70 to the power of x. The a value of 40 represents the number of infections on the original day that the number of infections were reported. The a value of 40 represents the original number of infections reported on April 14th, which represents day 0. The b value is the ratio of which the reported amount of infection, and x represents the numbers of days that we plugged in to find the data. From the original equation of y equals a times b to the power of x, Mexico's equation was y equals 81 times 1.39 to the power of x. The a value written represents the original number of infections in Mexico that was reported on day 0, which was April 14th, and that is 81. The b value represents the ratio of the mean of reported data from April 22nd to April 14th of number of infections. And the x represents the amount of days that we plug in to find our answers.
Well, according to my calculations, these infections started on April 1st and most presumably in Mexico.
And once again, from the original equation of y equals a times b to the power of x, Canada's equation was y equals 250 times 1.76 to the power of x. The value of a of 250 represents the original number of infections on April 14th, which was day 0. The b value represents the ratio of the mean of the number of infections reported from April 22nd to April 14th. And the x value represents the amount of days that we have to plug in to get our answers. To make it more clear, to find the number of people infected on a specific day, one would plug in x as the number of days elapsed, then to get the y, which represents the total number of people infected. For all processes used, when solving for the days elapsed, which is the x value, we plugged in the given population. For examples, on number 2, 10,000, 100,000, and 1 million. For the y value of people infected on the day we are solving for to solve for x. This was used to solve for 2 and 3 and 5. Any population questions, for example 4 and 6, was based off of actual recordings for each country.
By August 22nd, the entire world will be infected.
Agreed that the country should all get an even disperse of the cures. However, it should start in America because it has the biggest population and the second fastest spreading disease. We believe that the infection can be stopped. From creating a linear equation that is y equals 200x plus 4,000, 4,000 representing the initial amount of cures set out in each country, and 200 representing the amount of cures that will increase by each day. We set that equation equal to the own personal equations that each country had. Then we solved for the amount of days it will take for the infection to be stopped and the cure to be spread. Once the cure is dispersed on April 24th, America's infection should stop 9.4 days after the cure, which would land on May 3rd. Mexico should be stopped 13.4 days on May 7th, and Canada's will be stopped 5.3 days after on April 29th.
That's all we have for tonight, folks. But thank you, stay healthy, eat your vegetables, and stay uninfected.